I started in Minnesota. Before we got to South Dakota, I was in Minnesota as a soil conservationist, mapped soils as a soil scientist, became a district conservationist over there before moving to South Dakota as the state agronomist. Used to work with NRCS, retired for a few years now. Started in 1983 with the Soil Conservation Service.
I am a landowner here at Passkill and Beaver Creek, a small farm near Brandon, and I come here after retirement with a long career at the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. And in that amazing career, had an opportunity to have lots of different positions, but was able to actually retire as the state conservationist in South Dakota in 2021. I've got a degree in range science and was lucky enough to get hired by the USDA Soil Conservation Service when I got hired. It was before the name change. But with NRCS, I had a chance to work in Montana, Iowa, South Dakota, and lots of other places, and worked with a lot of producers to try to help them do a better job of caring for their natural resources. At the end of my career, I had moved more into management and different things, and as state conservationist, of course, in South Dakota, just got a lot of opportunity to work with partners, all different kinds of partners, amazing partners in South Dakota, to try to see what we all could do together as kind of a larger family of conservation groups and agencies to assist producers on taking care of what makes South Dakota strong, and it's our natural resources.
You can't do something for 30 years and not have it affect you. We moved out to the hills, the Black Hills, because of our grandchildren, and we are not ready to stop farming at this point, so we bought this place. It's an operation that's we think that we can revegetate, in other words, replant some of the forest land that has been damaged in the 2006 fire that went through here. And after that, then, you know, there's an area that we're going to do some rotational grazing on. So you're implementing, in this particular case, a contract, in other words, an EQIP contract through the local NRCS office, and implementing grazing management and forestry all at the same time. So, and it should be a lot of fun, and from my standpoint, it's you take that information and then go and show other people that you're doing what you're doing, and they go, well, gee, I'd like to have a place like that too, and they can.
When 2020 and 21 were coming around and I was like looking at what I wanted to do, I was still happy at NRCS, I really was. But there was one thing that was kind of tugging at me. And what was tugging at me is that I grew up on this amazingly diverse place near Brandon, South Dakota, which happens to be in close proximity to a high percentage of our South Dakota residents because it's close to Sioux Falls and many of the communities around it. And what was tugging on me, it's like, this is the farm, Jeff, where you learn to really appreciate Mother Nature and have a career in conservation. You've got to use that farm to kind of keep telling that story. That's what brought my wife Kim and I back here to this farm. It's where I grew up, in that house right there. You know, it's really where I learned to love Mother Nature. The hunting and the fishing and the trapping and just the exploring and the working on the ag side of things, and all of that just had a marked impact on me, and I wanted to have that impact on other people.
My wife and I were master gardeners, and that's a program with South Dakota State University. Through that program, we get to talk to a lot of individuals, but one of the things we really enjoy doing is moving into an easier way to manage your yard, your lawn, and your garden.
We have a big garden, and I enjoy the process. But it's so much better when you have it with a no-till gardening system, because it isn't as much work, and I don't have to be out there in the middle of July weeding and having the sweat dripping off of me, and it's a lot more fun.
I think that life is a learning experience, you know, and there's a lot of lessons that we learned on the farm that we had over in Huron. We had a no-till garden over there. I was in no-till production on the croplands fields for over 20-some years. Brought that into the garden. I know there's some people that are wildlife enthusiasts, and it's interesting to me is that you could walk around the quarter that we owned and not see a deer track when we first got there. And when we moved off, deer populations were so high that, you know, they're right in the yard. So you end up with changing that whole system enough so that at some point you end up with not just unseen, what I call unseen wildlife in your soil health standpoint. As soon as that improves, the rest of the environment improves too. Pheasant and deer populations are just awesome. People that came out to our place just were amazed with the amount of wildlife that were around, and it really has to do with changing that management. Over time, we'll make those changes here too.
One of the things that we've done here, I've always wanted to try to make sure that we were being effective. So if we have school kids come out, are we teaching them something? So we've been doing pre-tests. We work with teachers and we say, hey, will you give them a little pre-knowledge check? And then when they get back to the classroom after they've been here, let's do a post-knowledge check and let's see if we're making a difference. And what we've seen is that on several of the key topics that we try to talk about, we really make an impact. And one of those things that I really get a kick out of with Grasslands is most of the students, when you ask them, so when South Dakota was first settled by European settlers, you know, what percentage of South Dakota was grassland? Well, the right answer is 96%. And when kids realize that literally this entire state of South Dakota was covered in grass when it was settled, is mind-blowing to them. And then when they learn that roughly we're at 50% now, 48% now, and then we have threats that are still facing those 48% grasslands, tree encroachment, conversion to other land uses, management that could be better, and all those things, hopefully we're educating them and they're going to step up to the task. We're seeding some things back to grasslands because I think it's best suited for grasslands. We're taking some land that's not the best land for row crop production and we're putting it back to grass. We're trying to take the grasslands that have been on this farm for a long time that I don't think have ever had any annual row crops planted on them, but they're not perfectly healthy, right? They're just not because we haven't managed them correctly. So we're trying to manage them. And we're trying to do all that and learn along the way. So taking all that stuff that I helped producers with at NRCS and watch them sometimes struggle with, now I'm struggling with it, right? Now I'm dealing with trying to seed native grasses down and have the creek come up and flood them out after they were just established. And this year, getting in a livestock pipeline to provide water and having Mother Nature, again, the creek came up and took out part of the pipeline and some of those things. So those are the kind of struggles, and now I'm getting to live those.
That's the opportunity through the Master Gardeners program, it really is. It's, you know, when you get the opportunity to go talk to people about one thing or another, you know, I was amazed the other day. We were doing a presentation on soil health in Hill City, and I started talking to them about, I said, well, the most simple thing you can actually do is mulching, and there's a landscape fabric that the conservation districts have, they use on their trees. It should be a great thing for a beginner to start with. And what I was amazed on is they had no idea that this even existed. And well, where can I get this, and et cetera. And so you share one little piece, and sooner or later people will come around to the rest of the story and how do you actually get this done. And well, you're changing people, changing thoughts and how things work. So.
What I do hope that if people reflect back that they'll say, Jeff was passionate about conservation. Jeff was passionate about educating people about conservation. Jeff worked hard at it. Jeff wanted to make things a better place, and hopefully when I'm gone, the things that we're trying to start here at Passkill and Beaver Creek can continue. There could be no better reward than that.